Vajda, and welcome to Hometown Talents and Treasures. We're on location in Lawrence, Massachusetts at the Riverwalk properties. Our guest is Sal Lupoli. Sal is a man with a mission to invigorate and revitalize this community. Okay, Lupoli and Companies that has Sal's, Salvatore's, several stores across Massachusetts and New Hampshire. You've also been a donor at Pop Warner, Little League Team, Habitat for Humanity, Camp Fatima, Debbie's Treasure Trust, a football coach for Chelmsford High School, president of the board of the Leadership and Literacy Foundation. I could go on and on and on. So, Sal, what keeps you going? What motivates you to do all these things?
Well, I mean, that's a great question. That's a question that's often asked. You know, Sal, how do you kind of put your schedule together? And it always comes back to the team. It always comes back to the team that we have within the Lupoli companies, which we have about 800 employees in our operation. And the operation spans not only from Arizona to Florida to California, but also New Hampshire and Massachusetts. And there's about 800 employees that really focus on whether it's the hospitality or the real estate divisions or some of the nonprofits that we run. And they really allow me the time and the luxury to kind of focus in on those things. They're very flexible. My schedule is long. I'm able to speak to people as early as 3:30 in the morning and sometimes as late as midnight. So they really give me the flexibility to talk to them, understand what's going on in the business, which allows me to do some of the great things that you've mentioned. And I have a great passion for children, 501c3s, coaching football. I believe in that. I believe in the mentoring program that takes place in football. But I'm the president of Chelmsford Pop Warner, as you said. I'm also a Pop Warner coach. I'm also a defensive line coach at the high school. So during the months of August to November, it's pretty challenging. It's probably 2:30 in the afternoon to 8:30 at night. I'm on the field coaching or supporting the programs.
So let's talk about Riverwalk specifically. When you purchased it in 2003, there were less than 300 people working here, less than 35 businesses, now booming.
Well, that is a great story. Esther, I'm so proud of that accomplishment in our organization that I ask people respectfully, humbly, please show me another program like this that exists in the country. Because when you talk about the city of Lawrence, well, you're talking about one of the 40 poorest communities in the country under the Clinton administration. You're talking about a city that has the highest unemployment rate in the state. You're talking about one of the most challenged communities in the state. So what would possess you to go to the city of Lawrence, mortgage everything in your life? Esther, I mortgaged the home where my children sleep at night in order to buy property in the city of Lawrence that was condemned, abandoned. There was drug use, there was homeless people living in there, there was blight, there was buildings with no roofs. Mortgage everything in your life, mortgage all your businesses at that point to come make an investment in Lawrence. Because I believe in the state of Massachusetts, I believe in the city of Lawrence. I believe that if you could build, and I'm going to take a quote out of, of a politician's book, Mrs. Clinton, and I'm going to tell you, I believed in building a city, a small village here. Yeah. And it started with one building that was about 240,000 square feet. You are correct, there were less than 3,500 businesses. Buildings with no roof on it.
Wow.
Just condemned facilities.
When you walked in here and saw this, what were you thinking?
So I'm going to give you a great quote, a very exciting quote, a quote that I like to be remembered by. And it wasn't that I came up with it, but when I heard it, I said, that's what I see in Riverwalk. So one day, so it goes, somebody said to Michelangelo, how did you create David out of a block of granite? How did you make something so beautiful out of a big rock? And Michelangelo said to the person, I didn't create David out of the block of granite. I saw David in the granite, and I chipped the granite away to let him out.
Love that.
So why do I tell you that? Because I didn't see homelessness. I didn't see asbestos.
You saw potential.
I saw this. This picture is the same as this picture right here.
Wow.
This space is the same as this space right here. That window is the same as that window. So I saw opportunity. I saw jobs. I didn't see this. I just didn't see it. It just, all it was a blank canvas in order to paint this. So when I walked in and I saw people living there, and I saw needles on the floor, and I saw animals living there, and I saw homeless people living there, I said, well, we have such an opportunity here. It's going to take some time. And I think that's the biggest problem. To come back to your point, when you talk about how did Lowell do it? Well, if you really look at the amount of time that Lowell has done it, or is in the process of doing it, it's been 10, 20, 30 years. So what is consistent with any great project? Time. Unfortunately, Esther, people want something done tomorrow. They want change tomorrow. If you take the long road approach and you don't over leverage yourself and you look at it as a 5 or 10 or 20 year project, well, then you can turn this into that.
Vision.
Time, vision.
And time.
I had this picture taken just after I purchased the real estate, Esther, in 2003. No jobs, empty cars, abandoned trailers, trees growing out of the building, Esther. This picture was taken in 2007, 4 years later. Mm-hmm. By that time, I not only purchased this building, I bought this one, this one, this one, and I built that building right there from scratch. Now you come over here in 2007, you say, oh, something fun is happening over here. I see these little specks, right? You see these specks?
Yeah.
People call them cars, I call them jobs. So you see some jobs starting to take place. And then you come over here, Esther, from 2007 to 2012. This picture was taken roughly June of 2012. And parking lot is pretty much full. Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 buildings of phase 1 is completely sold out. This building is home to one of the largest medical device companies in the world, Next Stage Medical. They have a market share of 1.2 billion. They're a publicly traded company. This is their world headquarters. They could have went anywhere they wanted to. Certainly they could have left the state of Massachusetts, which was being talked about. We worked with the governor's office and dragged them back into Massachusetts. That's their world headquarters, run by CEO Jeff Burbank, who is brilliant and a visionary himself. And certainly the kind of courage that it takes to park a publicly traded company in the city of Lawrence, that speaks volumes for the commitment that Next Stage Medical has made. Also, we ran out of space leasing, so we built another building right here from the ground up, 64,000 square feet.
How are you attracting all these businesses?
So it started out with one building that was about 240,000 square feet. Now today we have about 2.5 million square feet. Today we have about 4,000 people that work in Riverwalk. Today we have over 200 companies here, and they're home to some of the biggest companies in the world. I mean, imagine.
How do you track them?
Esther, when you're talking to a very small team, myself at the top of it, that makes all the deals. So imagine, Esther, you're looking for space and you're a small entrepreneur, and I target small entrepreneurs. I target small businesses. 35% of the growth of Riverwalk is from within the organization. In other words, Esther opens up, she's an entrepreneur, she wants to open up a company, she makes widgets, and I go to Esther and I believe in her and I help get her started. I help even sometimes microfinance her. We have a small micro lending program that we support our tenants with the right tenants, with the right leases. And I believe in Esther. And I help Esther grow, and I just ask Esther one favor. Esther, when it's time to grow with Riverwalk. So 35% of the growth of Riverwalk comes from people like Esther with that small entrepreneurial spirit growing her business. So when you talk about how do we get them, it's very simple. When you walk in, you're talking to the guy that makes the decisions. I'm not letting you leave the room without a deal if you're serious, Esther. Because you're a small entrepreneur. You don't have time to negotiate or work with brokers or get back or have lunch or we'll do Tuesday, I'll talk to you on Wednesday, and Friday comes. You want answers right away. I'm the guy that can give you an answer. I've made deals within 5 minutes of meeting somebody. We make the deal very quick, and within 30 days, they're in their space producing and creating jobs.
Sal, you do all these things for children, education, nutrition, and so forth. What inspires you?
My family, my own children, my father, my mother. I am blessed to have a presence in my life of a person that I've never met a stronger person. I didn't say a stronger woman, I said a stronger person. I've never met a stronger person than my mother in my entire life. I lost my father when he was 61 years old in 2003, July 30th. He was my king, my mentor, my best friend, gave me great inspiration, but what he did instill in me till this day, and people might think it's a little silly, or people might think it's, I don't know how to describe it, but I will tell you this. I made a promise to my father when I was a young boy, 15, 16 years old, when I talked to my father about being an entrepreneur and being in business for myself. And he said to me, Sal, with your drive and your passion, you're going to be a successful entrepreneur. Promise me, on me, that you'll make a difference in people's lives. Mm-hmm. And I originally, when I said that, when I heard that, Esther, I thought he was talking about my family. So my answer was quick. Of course, Dad, I'm going to always take care of the family. And he says, no, I know you're going to do that. My father was a sick man much of his life. I mean, bedridden for much of his life. He said, no, I want you to make a difference in people you haven't even met. I want you to make a difference in children's lives.
What did you think when he said that?
I didn't understand it. I thought it was nice, but it was overwhelming. But I started to put my hands around it. I started to understand it. But I'll tell you what I did do. I immediately said yes, because I had that blind faith in my father. And if he said it, I'm going to do it. This is another challenge I'm going to face in my life, and I'm going to do it. I said that at the age of 15 or 16 years old. And as my life progressed, and as things started to progress, I always thought of that. I thought of that every day. I looked in the mirror, I saw the words coming out of his mouth. And then when he passed away, the dreams that I would have with my father was always, are you impacting? Are you doing what we talked about? So, I get caught up in these wonderful things. I think they're great. I think somebody has to spearhead them. I'm proud to tell you, Esther.
Did you ever think you'd be where you are today?
Yes, I did. Did I ever think I would be affecting this many people? No, I dreamed of it. I hoped for it. I strived for it.
Didn't you write a paper when you were young?
I did. That's absolutely correct. You have a great memory. I wrote a paper as a young man that I was going to inspire and change people's lives. I wrote a paper that I wanted to open multiple restaurants.
You knew?
I was blessed to have a family around me that inspired me and keep that dream alive. That's what I was blessed.
What's your favorite part of your day?
So, my favorite part of my day is when I see my children in the morning, and I see my children at night, and I see my wife, or I talk to my wife during the course of the day. A man, and I'm being a little bit biased right now, I've been so blessed to be surrounded by a woman that allowed me to mortgage her home and to mortgage all the businesses. Imagine in 2003, I started in 1990, 13 years later, everything I accumulated and my family accumulated to mortgage it and invest in a city of Lawrence, and she didn't blink an eye.
She believes in you.
She believes in what the cause was about. She knew that it was bigger than just a business transaction. She knew this was about, affecting people's lives. We often talk about my father's dream and my mother's dream. So it's really, the support I get is from my wife and my children. They're my inspiration. And then it's the small nuggets of gold, I call them, that you learn during the course of the day, or you pick up during the course of a month. And that's that child you might meet, that's that employee that you're making a difference in their life.
You have your father and
Yes.
your brother behind you,
Yes.
looking over you. When you look into their eyes, you said you look into their eyes every day when you come into work. What do you think?
I feel strength. I look in their eyes and I get reinvigorated. My father used to say, you're going to have highs and lows every single day. How are you going to create a level field? How are you going to bring those lows up and get to that plateau? Because then you can only grow from there. So I come into this room when I'm tired and I'm exhausted. I come into this room when I'm maybe at the end of my rope, because you have to understand, Esther, you can't have growth without debt. You can't have growth without taking chances. And people see Riverwalk and they see Lupoli companies and they see great growth. Well, if there was no growth, then you would be able to count the zeros after the one in the bank account. But when you have growth, you're constantly reinvesting. So not a day goes by that I say to myself, okay, how are we going to strategize and monetize this next particular project or venture? So I'll come into this room and I might feel a little low, and I try not to show anybody that, because you want to be as a leader. I believe in leadership wholeheartedly. That's the number one thing I believe in an organization. I come in and I see those 4 sets of eyes looking at me. you know, and it might be just a bronze plaque, but to me it's my father and my brother Jimmy, and they're motivating me. They're saying, stop, get yourself in tune, get refocused, and come out and swinging.
I love that.
Strength or courage is not when you have 1,000 guns pointed in the direction you're facing.
Mm-hmm.
Strength and courage comes when you have 1,000 guns pointed at you. And how do you lead through that? And how do you get the strength to get through that? And I believe in that. But, it's one step at a time. One part of the puzzle is certainly business, another part is family and relationships. So that's what we're trying to do.
Sal Lupoli, thank you so much for being on Hometown Talents and Treasures.
Anytime, thank you.
That's our show for today. Thanks so much for joining us. And if there's someone or an organization you think should be featured on Hometown Talents and Treasures, email me at esternvajda@gmail.com. Remember, it can be anyone. The important thing is that they selflessly donate their talent and time to help others. See you next time.